Honestly, I don't know what two-way tonight would be without Donald John Trump, because whether you like his politics, his morality, his vision for America, man, the gentleman produces content. He was just speaking at an event that ended moments, literally, when I say moments ago, literally just ended as I was talking about it, with the Miami soccer team. And he talked about a lot of interesting things, like how handsome the players were and how painful it was to sit alone with George Steinbrenner and watch Yankee games. Um, and whether Pele was better than Messi. Put that in the chat. Who's better, Pele or Messi? I'd love to know what you all think. This is 2A tonight. We have great guests, and we have a lot to get through on the war and, of course, the sacking. I love that British term, sacking of Secretary Noem. She's getting another job, but make no mistake, she was sacked. And the president, very harsh words about Tucker Carlson. Maybe the harshest things he's ever said in public about Tucker. I emphasize in public. Um, and some other odds and ends. But we're going to talk a lot about Secretary Noem. We're going to talk a lot about the war. Probably the biggest news on the war. The president talked to a number of reporters today. This is his war comms. No Norman Schwarzkopf in the Pentagon briefing room, but just Donald Trump answering his cell phone and talking to reporters. And he told a number of them today, including a reporter from Axios and I believe John Carl also, that he should play a role in picking the next leader of Iran. Now, this is causing people to talk about regime change and mission creep and all of that. I don't think there's any doubt that if you ask Donald Trump if he wants to pick the leader of every country, he would say yes, but he's got some leverage there. The market was way down today after being up yesterday, and that's going to get quite a bit of attention around the world. But the dollar is doing quite well because whenever there's economic turmoil, people flood into the United States. So that's mixed as well. Let me just make sure I've previewed everything I want to preview. I'm a little discombobulated because the presidential event was mesmerizing. Oil's up past $80 a barrel. And the president did some praying at the White House today. All right, I think I've previewed everything I need to. So in a moment, our guests will be here, and we'll run through the news together. We'll play some sound bites from the president on the war. Some of you would like us to lead with Secretary Noem. Some of you would like to lead with the war. Here's what we'll do. As I do a couple ads, just put in the chat. Not that I'll listen because I don't look at the chat, but get it out of your system. Just put in war, or you can put in Iran. Let's put in Iran. Don't put in war. Put in Iran or Noem. Iran or Noem. Iran, Noem. Iran, Iran. Iran, Iran. A lot of Iran, some Noem. We'll see. Just keep doing it while I read some ads, and then when we get to the guests, we'll let them vote too. But it'll be like the People's Choice Awards. The community gets to vote, but we ignore that, and just the elites get to pick because that's the way it works. All right. New York Times claims this. I think this just ran. Oh, this ran an hour ago. The New York Times says their own investigation shows that the Iranian school children were in fact mostly a school that was where 175 people were killed, mostly children, was done by the United States inadvertently. Yesterday, Secretary Haig said that this was being investigated. Somehow the New York Times says they figured it out. We'll see if that's correct. But that's a big story, obviously sad, and will raise a lot of questions. All right, quick sponsors then to our guests, and then to you. Raise your hand if you're here on the platform and you want to be in on the conversation. Cozy Earth will give all members of the two-way community an astonishing 20% off everything on the site. That's the Cozy Earth pants, which I'm wearing again today. Yes, there's a mustard stain on them, but I'm still wearing them. The bubble cuddle blanket, the sheets, the towels, everything on the site, 20% off with the promo code two-way. Go to cozyearth.com. Change your life, whatever you buy. You can change your life in the bathroom, in the bedroom. Change your life as you move about the cabin with the seatbelt sign off. The Lux bath towels are very good. I got a nice note from someone today who bought the Lux bath towel set, and they criticized me. They said, Mark, you talk so much about the pants, the bubble cuddle blanket. You've undersold the towels. And yes, the towels are extraordinary, and they're all 20% off. Go right now. Start your new year off right. It's March, probably too late to start your new year off right. Start the precipice of spring off right. Go to cozyearth.com. Use the promo code ethos. No, the promo code two-way for 20% off. Speaking of ethos, that's how I got a transition in here. If you are the breadwinner in your family and you don't have life insurance, you're taking an enormous risk. And I'm here to help you out of that position where if something happens to you, you're not able to leave behind financial security for your family. Just go to ethos.com/two-way and you'll get a free quote on life insurance. The Life Insurance Ethos, a platform that makes getting life insurance surprisingly easy in less than 10 minutes for some. You can fill out the application. There's some health questions. There's no medical exam. And before you know it, you'll have up to $3 million in life insurance to protect your family, provide the financial security that they need. Protect your family today by going to ethos.com/two-way and fill out the application. You can get the peace of mind you need quickly, affordably, and have up to $3 million in coverage for yourself in case something happens to you. Don't put this off another moment. Go to ethos.com/two-way, ethos.com/two-way. All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's see what our guests want to do about Noem or the war. All the websites are leading with Noem because it's new news. Welcome in, Madeline Summerville. Thank you for being here. I know you've been on Two-Way, but not on this program. Tell everybody what you think of Two-Way, and then tell everybody what you do for a living and how you got here.
Yeah, hey there. Thank you so much for having me on today. I'm very happy to be here. I have done the group chat once with Robbie and Emma and Nina, and I loved it.
What nice people those people are.
They are wonderful and extremely smart and understanding and nuanced in their thoughts. And it's nice to talk to people whose opinion you respect. It doesn't always get to happen that way. And I feel like we actually had meaningful conversations, even though we disagreed. I think it was really representative of like the important points of disagreement in general communities. And that's important for people to see. It's a catharsis, and so I really love it. I think it's something that we need.
I love that. It's a great description of Two-Way, and I love how you said it, and I'm grateful to you for that. You're a Democratic strategist. What does that mean?
Yeah, so it was that I was a speechwriter. I was a speechwriter for the Georgia Senate Democratic Caucus here, and I wrote for the legislative session and for some senators on the side there. So when I started working for their campaigns, helping them on the side, writing difficult speeches for them on difficult things, then I became more of a strategist, started working on a bunch of different platforms. I'm often seen as the liberal voice on Newsmax because I like to think of myself as a reasonable liberal. And I'm sure that our other person on the panel today is also a reasonable liberal. But yeah, that's kind of where I've been for the last 2 years is doing commentary and trying to regain a little bit of credibility on our side.
Yeah. And did I get you right? You live in Georgia?
I do. I live in Atlanta.
Yeah. If you're talking to more than two people, do you say all y'all or all y'all?
Always. I say y'all.
Never all y'all?
I say all y'all. I'll say, and I'll also say y'all's, like y'all's stuff over there.
If it's three or people or more, I say all y'all. Now, Beverly Hallberg is a very nice person, but she ain't no liberal.
She's just in case. But
I'm reasonable. We have that. We're both.
She's
reasonable.
to the right of John. She's to the right of John Fetterman. That's how conservative she is.
Gotcha.
Beverly, welcome back. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
We're gonna have one more guest coming, but he's not quite here yet. But let's get underway. Beverly, where would you like to start? Secretary
Noem all the way.
Noem all the way.
Much. Yeah, Noem all the way.
Let's do it.
Noem. Okay. So yesterday, Secretary Noem finished her second tough day on the Hill, where she got difficult questions from Democrats, Jamie Raskin and others. She was confronted about allegations of having an extramarital affair with her top aide. And Senator Kennedy, a Republican of Louisiana, asked her point blank, the millions of dollars of paid media featuring her that's run on TV around the country, if the president had approved that. And she quite explicitly said yes. And I have to say, it caught not just my ear, but it caught the ear of many. Here's Secretary Hegseth speaking live. Can we dip into that when you're ready, just to see what he's saying? Because I notice everybody's covering this. We'll take that and we'll pause to listen for a minute. Caught my ear, and I said, "Really, the president approved all those ads?" It seems like a micro detail. Well, in an interview with Reuters that ran not that long ago, the president said no, he did not approve the ads. Now, he's basically accusing her of perjury because she quite clearly said that the president did approve them, and according to Senator Kennedy, he talked to the president about that. So not about the perjury necessarily, but about her answer. We ready to take Hegseth, guys?
Let's do it.
Just keep going, Mark. We'll get it up.
Okay. Here's the exchange with Senator Kennedy from Louisiana, Republican, number 2, please.
I'm asking you, sorry to interrupt, but the president approved ahead of time you spending $220 million running TV ads across the country in which you are featured prominently.
Yes, sir. We went through the legal processes, did it
Did
correctly.
the president know you were going to do this?
Yes.
He did?
Yes.
Okay.
And one thing, Senator, I think would be helpful to know is how effective that communications has been. That
Well, they were
overwhelmingly
effective in your name recognition. I mean, I personally just, I mean, to me, it puts the president in a terribly awkward spot. And and I'm not saying you're not telling the truth. It's just hard for me to believe, knowing the president as I do.
So, Senator Kennedy, then according to, but let's listen to Pete Hegseth. We'll break here. Let's listen to Secretary Hegseth, please.
Only just begun
he's
to
speaking
fight
at Central Command in
and
Florida,
fight
Tampa.
decisively, having a chance to hear from Admiral Cooper. If you think you've seen something, just wait. The amount of combat power that's still flowing, that's still coming, that we'll be able to project over Iran is a multiples of what it currently is right now when you add up our capabilities and those of the Israeli Defense Forces. And we have no shortage of authorities. The Admiral knows we have clear objectives with maximum authorities on the battlefield. The dumb, politically correct wars of the past were the opposite of what we're doing here. They had vague objectives with restrictive, minimalist rules of engagement. No more. Our authorities, his authorities, CENTCOM's authorities through the president and myself are maxed out. Our capabilities are overwhelming and gathering still, as are those of our Israeli partners. Our munitions are full up, and our will is ironclad, which means our timeline is ours and ours alone to control. As long as it takes to ensure the United States of America achieves these objectives. And as we flow more forces, and as we flow more capabilities, and as our munitions, as we're flying over the top, have even more devastating effects, we set the tempo, we set the timeline, led by the commander on the ground. Our ear is to the ground to listen to Admiral Cooper, what he needs, and what he needs he will get. We are built for this fight, and we are in it to win it. And we have the right commander in the lead. So I'll now hand it over to Admiral Brad Cooper to give you an update right here from CENTCOM. Admiral.
Mr. Secretary, first, thank you very much and good afternoon, and welcome to U.S. Central Command Headquarters, America's Warfighting Headquarters. It's great to be here alongside the Secretary and representing the more than 50,000 men and women in uniform currently
Beverly,
executing
you do
Operation Epic
communications,
Fury.
advising.
Mr.
This
Secretary,
guy, we can already tell, is incredible, right?
Amazing.
Yeah. All right, keep him going. I mean,
Yep. I have thoughts.
Yeah.
Us to use overwhelming force against the Iranian terrorist regime. And thanks to all of you for attending today, and welcome to Tampa. We are now starting our 6th day of a historic mission to eliminate Iran's ability to threaten Americans. We are, if I could channel my inner Navy officer, we are at full speed ahead in executing orders given by leadership in Washington. The President and Secretary Hegseth have been crystal clear in their expectations, and we are at a high level of execution. As described by the Secretary and earlier this week by me, U.S. combat power is building as Iranian combat power declines. Our air dominance allows us to hit Iran's center of gravity with overwhelming power and reach. A couple of examples. In just the last 72 hours, America's bomber force has struck nearly 200 targets deep inside of Iran, including around Tehran. And in just the last hour, U.S. B-2 bombers dropped dozens of 2,000-pound penetrator bombs targeting deeply buried ballistic missile launchers. Notably, we've also struck Iran's equivalent of Space Command, which degrades their ability to threaten Americans. Then, if I just look back over the last 24 hours of the operation compared to where we were at its start, ballistic missile attacks have decreased by 90% since day one. Drone attacks have decreased by 83% since day one. Having said this, we remain vigilant. Our strikes against the Iranian Navy have intensified. You may have heard the President say just a little while ago that we have sunk or destroyed 24 ships. That was true at the moment.
This.
We're now up over
There's
30.
some news I want to share with you from a Washington Post story about the status of the Iranian regime. But let's just talk about the communications, because Beverly's expert on here and Madeline's going to have views as a speechwriter. There's obviously a red-blue split about Pete Hegseth and the way he presents and the way he's presented during the war. Blue America thinks it's garish and macho and too negative about the media, and Red America loves it, I'm sure. But both Brad Cooper and General Kane, I really think just objectively, that first of all, not just in terms of their presentation skill, but in terms of what they're talking about, I just think objectively it's hard to take any issue with them. I've always said if you're going to war, have a Schwarzkopf who can communicate the hell out of it, and they both seem to me to be spectacular. Beverly, I hope I haven't prejudiced the jury. Thoughts on if you think they're good, and if so, what's good about their presentation?
No, I would agree. The only exception I would take, I would even say on the Red America Republican side, there's even division among Republicans on whether or not Pete Hegseth is gifted in communication. Here's the reason why. It's very pundity. It's very Fox Newsy, which of course that's where he came from. But what I really want from my generals and my admirals and my Secretary of Department of War is not a lot of, I don't need a lot of vocal energy. I want the facts. I want the details, and something that General Kane did so well in some recent briefing. I think Pete Hegseth forgot to mention the fallen troops, but General Kane started with that right away, talking about the fallen troops, their families, and then just went right into the details. And the way he answered questions was to open it up to the pool and to not take any offense. And something Pete Hegseth does a lot is talk about bias in the media. He talks about, we're going to win this war. It's like, okay, we just need details right now. So he's giving more of a TV pundit delivery, which I think can rally troops, but it's not what you give in these types of pressers.
Yeah. Madeline, thoughts?
Yeah. So I didn't give you my full background before. I'm a trial attorney by trade.
Okay.
And the last few years, I opened my own business in trying to help attorneys and counseling them on how to talk to juries. So it's quite similar. And I could not agree more with Beverly when she said that we just want the details. When I talk to jurors afterwards, they are very frustrated and feel emotionally manipulated when they feel like we focus too much on pulling at their heartstrings. People don't like that because they can identify it immediately. It's more difficult in interpersonal conversation when it's one-on-one, to realize that somebody's trying to manipulate you or pull on your heartstrings. But when you're watching TV and you're sitting at home, or when you're on a 12-person jury and you're watching a trial, it's pretty easy because you can sit back and watch it. It makes people feel uncomfortable. So I totally agree that you should stick to the details, stick to the facts. And it's almost like Hegseth wants a close-up of his face a couple of times, because he'll give these pauses that lets me know that he has his own pacing that's not necessarily going with what the rest of the room is going with. I don't know if Beverly agrees with that. She's more experienced with this than I am, but I could not agree more.
I'd love the opportunity for the two of you to spend an hour with Secretary Hegseth and give him some coaching and see how he'd come out.
It'd be so fun.
The House narrowly voted down the War Powers Resolution just a few moments ago, largely, but not only along partisan lines. I want to tell you one more thing about Iran. Then we're going to go back to Secretary Noem. Then we'll come back to Iran, because the president said a lot about Iran today we want to cover. The Washington Post is my hometown paper. I grew up in the D.C. area, and it was one of the best papers in the country for many years, liberally biased, but still a great paper. And they covered a lot of areas well. Since the recent chaos there, the paper, I don't read the physical paper, but the website is it's a shadow of its former self. I'll go on there regularly and see stories that are 3 days old, 4 days old, like high up on the page. And a lot of beats are decimated, not just the ones that sports and others where they fired. The one area where they're still world class, truly as good as anybody, along with the Journal and the New York Times, is intelligence. The intelligence beat. They're very strong, and they've just run a story that's I don't think anybody's come close to this. Now, maybe this reporting is not true, but if true, it's incredibly important. They say 6 days into the war that has now touched 12 countries, major military operations have not threatened the Iranian regime's grip on power, according to European and Arab officials briefed on assessments of the regime's standing since the conflict began. Iran, the officials say, was prepared for this conflict. The command structures built to survive a decapitation strike appear to remain substantially intact, allowing Iranian retaliatory strikes against Israel, Qatar, and Bahrain to begin within hours of the initial attacks. Inside the country, since the conflict started, Iranians have reported a heavier security presence in city streets, with paramilitary officials on bikes. Despite the intensity of the strikes and the broad nature of the destruction, so far there are no reports of significant defections, within the regime ranks or of popular uprisings, according to sources talked to by the Washington Post. U.S. intelligence also saw no signs of uprisings or defections in the first days of the campaign, according to a person familiar with the situation. Here's the final quote along the same lines. There's not a single sign of anything in the system breaking or defecting. Nothing, zero, said a senior European official. Madeline, does this dishearten you, or do you think it's too soon to say this is where it's going to end up? How do you feel about that?
Yeah, so I think that the president kind of gave away his perspective when he said that he was using Venezuela as a template. Because I think there was a wise person in the comments here that said, oh, I thought they would just fold. And if the president was using Venezuela as a template, perhaps he thought so too. Perhaps he thought that this would be much easier than it would be. But I think that traditionally, we, since 1979, have had a fundamental misunderstanding of Iranian culture and how tied to their leadership and religion they are and how intertwined that is. And so it's going to require somebody who, like the folks who did the first negotiation, and I understand why the president pulled out of it, but like with the first Iran deal that we had, to take all the factors into consideration that need to be so that we can leave them and not have a forever war, leave them in good hands. We have to know what the culture's like.
Beverly.
Yeah, I think it's too soon to tell what this is. There is some fear that the reason why the Iranians are pulling back on some of the missiles is they want to pull a ground war in, and who knows what happens at that point. But I think some of the most positive signs is that the Gulf states, the people who are fighting with the United States, the coalition that has been built from this, I think has been really amazing. And so I would say, looking at this, especially when you look at how many different people have been eliminated, that's more than we ever thought. So I just think it's too early to tell. And as far as the people rising up, there's so much that would have to be put in place. And I know, Mark, you and I talked about this in the Iranian regime last time I was on. The question is, who replaces him? Who replaces this regime? And I know the president says now, I think today or yesterday, that he wants to be involved in that process. He talked about the Shah that's been living in the United States for 4 decades isn't the answer. I don't think we know what the end is, and it's a wait and see game at this point. But I do think, obviously, the United States and our allies have the advantage, to put it mildly.
All right, joined now, thank you for that, both of you, well said. Joined now by John Michael Raasch of the Daily Mail, a U.S. political reporter. He looks like he's on the set of a Hitchcock film where he plays the Jimmy Stewart character, but he's outside the West Wing, I'm told. John Michael, welcome. Thank you for being here. John Michael and his colleagues have done a lot of great reporting and some exclusive reporting along the way on the Kristi Noem story. So you're popping up just in time. We started with Noem. We switched to Iran because Secretary Hegseth was briefing. Let's go back to Noem. I want to show you the ad that seems to have been the undoing of Secretary Noem. This is the ad on which millions of my tax dollars, yours too, was spent to air around the country. This is number 3, please.
Why do I love these wide open spaces? They remind me of why our forefathers came here, not just for its beauty, but for the freedom only America provides. I'm Kristi Noem. From the cowboys who tamed the West, to the titans who built our cities, to the dreamers who chased the impossible, America has always rewarded vision and grit. Our greatness calls people to us for a chance to prosper, to live how they choose, to become part of something special. Anyone who searches for freedom can always find a home here, but that freedom's a precious thing, and we defend it vigorously. You cross the border illegally, we'll find you. Break our laws, we'll punish you. Harm American citizens, there will be consequences. But if you come here the right way, your American dream can be as big as these endless skies. From President Trump and me, welcome home.
Now, I will say it's a great ad. And I will say that she made many great ads when she was governor of her state, some paid for by tax dollars, some paid by others. But I will say, without fear of contradiction, that even though she put her boss in the ad about 5 times, you could see why President Trump would be upset of her claiming that the tax dollars, and not $1 of my tax money should have gone for airing that thing, not $1. John Michael, welcome. Thoughts on why, after Kristi Noem did 40 things as secretary that a normal president would have fired her for. Why is this the one, do you think, that was too much for him?
I think this is the straw that broke the camel's back because it obviously, rubbed Trump wrong, or at least that's what some reporting has said. The president is famous for not wanting to, or at least in this administration, not wanting to knife his closest confidants. But in this case, Kristi Noem went up to Capitol Hill earlier this week, said President Trump approved of her $220 million ad project. And the president has since said that's not true. So Kristi was saying something that the president never said, never signed off on, and then said under testimony that that is what he said. So either he's lying or she's lying, and she's got an issue now with potentially lying under oath. So that opens them up to a whole nother issue, not just, all the things that I'm sure you guys have talked about, the alleged affair, the private jet, all these different photo shoots with her and hair and makeup and, being with armed ICE or DHS officers. But when you rub Trump wrong and you say that he did something that he never did, I think he's not somebody that would forgive you for that.
Well said. Here is Senator Kennedy talking about his conversation with the president and how the president felt about his secretary's testimony.
The president, when he called me Tuesday night, the night of the hearing, when he was mad as a murder hornet, he asked me what I thought about Mark Twain, and I said, A, I like him. B, he's very smart. C, he's a very good businessman. And D, if I didn't believe the three things I just told you, I'd lie to you because Mark Twain would whip my ass.
So they're replacing a cabinet secretary, or at least they plan to, with a senator. And if you're trying to get somebody confirmed, we're in the midst of a partial government shutdown affecting her department. We're on the eve of an election where Democrats may try to stall this as much as possible. Senators rarely, not never, but rarely reject other senators. Mark Wayne Mullin is pretty well liked. Here he is talking about the good thing about being nominated for a confirmable position when you're a senator is you don't have to be quiet. The normal decorum is you're nominated. You can't speak till the hearing. If you're a senator, you can do whatever the heck you want. Here's Mark Wayne Mullin, number 7, talking about how he sees the job.
I want people to understand, when I go into this position, yes, I'm a Republican, yes, I'm conservative. But Department of Homeland Security is to keep everybody, regardless if you support me, if you don't support me, regardless of what your thoughts are. I'm here to enforce the policies that Congress passed, and right now I'm part of it, but once I make that transition, my focus is to keep the homeland secure. That's going to be my focus, and we're super excited about this opportunity.
Okay, that guy hasn't been a senator for very long. He's an interesting communicator. He's quick to anger. I'll tell you that. We've seen it in hearings. Madeline, obviously Democrats had no use for Kristi Noem. I could show you sound bites up and down from today's Schumer and others responding. But do you think he has a chance, as he suggested there, to win broad support from his colleagues for confirmation and from the country in the job if he is confirmed?
So I'll answer your question first, and then kind of give my general perspective. So I actually do. I actually think that he is a kind of person who can bring people together. However, right, I think that what we're working with here is a couple of figureheads, right? Kristi Noem wears a cowboy hat. Mark Wayne Mullin wears a cowboy hat. Obviously, President Trump thinks that there's a certain kind of person who should be the Secretary of DHS. Right? Because this is a cast of characters, right? Everyone who's running their departments is a figurehead, just so the public knows that. But I think actually, rather than the commercial being the reason why she was let go or reassigned, I actually think that it was Tom Tillis's, whatever you want to call it, cross-examination of her. I think that was what tanked it. And I specifically think that it was the dog analogy. I think that people were going to walk away with that stuck in their minds. And I think the president is exceptionally good at messaging, and he knows that she just tanked. I think that especially with Pam Bondi the week before or 2 weeks before, when she was sitting there and she was very strong, regardless of how silly I think her answers were. She still came off as very strong. And by contrast, Kristi Noem looked like a little girl, like a little sad little girl sitting there. And so I think Mark Wayne Mullin does have a better chance, but I would think, my beagle upstairs would have a better chance than Kristi Noem would of doing well in this position. So
Beverly, as I said, Mark Wayne Mullin at times, and you saw it in the clip there just from today, a conciliatory figure. Here's a moment, I would say, of less conciliation. Play that, please. This is from a hearing.
behavior, as everybody knows, and it's here. And the last time, him and I kind of had a back and forth. Appreciate your demeanor today. It's quite different. But after you left here, you got pretty excited about the keyboard. In fact, you tweeted at me 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times. And let me read what the last one said. It said, greedy CEO who pretends like he's self-made. Sir, I wish you was in the truck with me when I was building my plumbing company. Myself and my wife was running the office because I sure remember working pretty hard and long hours. Pretends like he's self-made. What a clown. Fraud. Always has been, always will be. Quit the tough guy act in these Senate hearings. You know where to find me. Any place, anytime, cowboy. Sir, this is a time, this is a place. If you want to run your mouth, we can be two consenting adults. We can finish it here.
Okay, that's fine. Perfect.
You want to do it now?
I'd love to do it right now.
Well, stand your butt up then.
You stand your butt up.
Oh, hold on.
Big guy.
Oh, stop it.
Is that your solution every
Hold it. No, sit down. Sit down. Okay. You know, you're a United States Senator. Sit down.
Active.
Oh, okay.
Sit down, please.
All right.
Can I respond? Mr.
Hold
Sim-
it. Hold it. If
Hold
we
on.
can't, no,
This is
I have
what
the
he
mic.
said.
I'm sorry.
This is
Hold
what
it.
he said.
You'll have your time.
Okay.
Can I respond?
Oh, no, you can't. This is a hearing. And God knows the American people have enough of contempt for Congress. Let's not
I don't
make
like
it worse.
thugs and bullies.
You have,
And that's
you
what-
have
I don't
the
like
right-
you because you
Hold
just
it.
described yourself.
Hold it.
Beverly, what do you make of that as we evaluate whether he will be a conciliatory figure if confirmed?
Well, he's not been through my training, so I can honestly say that's not the result of media training with me. But here's what I say: I think it's a good pick. Obviously, I don't love that clip. I don't like the way he handled himself. But he is a sitting senator. He's done fairly well. Trump does like to pick people who do a lot of media. He does very well in media interviews, and he is somebody who is from the great state of Oklahoma. I know there's questions about losing him, a Republican in the Senate, but you have a Republican governor who's going to appoint somebody, so that should be fine until somebody is elected. But with Kristi Noem, I actually think the fact that people are suggesting that she lied under oath, or at least that the president is disagreeing with her, was a gift to him. I think ever since he put Tom Homan in her spot in Minnesota when things weren't going well, I think he was done with her, and it was just a matter of time. And yes, you add to that the dog named Crickets. You even had Congressman Mouskowitz wearing a Justice for Crickets lapel pin button in the hearing. And then the affair itself, or the alleged affair, I think one of the most damning things as far as what she said, in addition to the potential perjury, is that she was asked about the affair and she wouldn't say that it didn't happen. She just kept coming back to saying that she's not going to respond to tabloid fodder. And I'm paraphrasing that. And I think that was really stunning that she couldn't deny it. And her husband was on camera sitting right behind her. So there was just so many aspects to this. I really would love to hear from the two-way community on this. I don't think even people who are very supportive of Trump, who are Republicans like myself, I don't think there's a whole love lost with her being the first cabinet position that's been eliminated.
Yeah. All right. A couple things. First of all, there is this part two, second beat of his relationship with that union leader was they made up, and we'll show that video to you in just a minute. They did make up. John Michael, the first sin of any reporter is to let bad cell phone battery management. But I understand you're down to 10%. So let's get to you before you have to go. Two-part question. Number one, how many Democratic senators will vote for the confirmation of their colleague Mark Wayne Mullin if he is nominated officially? And number two, could you take him in a fight?
I'll start with the easy question. Of course, I could take him in a fight. That's obvious. I mean, he may weigh 50 more pounds, may have been an MMA champion, all that, but I'm a $180, a little skinny twig, but I've got a lot of confidence.
But also you're lightning quick.
Oh, that's what I think. You know, I've not seen him have to run around, but he does like bounce that little stress ball around. So he seems a little fidgety. He seems a little squirrely. I'm not sure how that would fare for me.
All right. How many Democrats will vote for him?
I got to say at least 8. Like, I think that he's going to get over the threshold. He's going to get 60. He's going to get, at least some bipartisan support. There's, the Senate is a close group of friends. Everyone up there knows each other well. There's only 100 of them, regardless of how much they come out and bash each other on TV. Politics is, theater, if you will. When it comes to the vote, they'll back him up.
Name 2 Democrats will vote for him, not named Fetterman.
I was going to say Fetterman off the boat. I would who's in the Midwest or Midwest? Probably Slotkin. I feel like Slotkin would probably, because she was in the House. He was in the House for a long time.
How about Mark Kelly?
I mean, Mark Kelly kind of has to do some resistance stuff right now. He's been targeted by Pete Hegseth. He doesn't want to give Trump a win. So I'd say maybe not Kelly, but I think that, his military background and, his kind of tough guy demeanor would maybe ingratiate himself with Mullin. But off the top of my head, I got it.
All right.
Maybe somebody from Minnesota. We'll see.
Stay with us, but we know if you go, it won't be out of peak. It'll be because your battery died. Here's the makeup video, just so you can see that the guy has got a sense of comeback.
Hey guys, we're here with a unique coalition. We got Lori and my friend Sean. Now, the last time we were here, I think Sean and I kind of had our differences, but now we've made up, and actually we got a really good friendship. In fact, you'd almost say relationship. If it was a relationship, I'd be the man of the relationship, though, just to make sure we're clear on this. No, I'm kidding.
However, that's debatable. I mean, I've never had a man tell me to stand my butt up. You know what I mean? But the reality is this is important, and this is what it's all about, collaborating, forming friendships for the right direction of this country. And we believe that Laurie Chavez DeRima should be confirmed, and let's get it done today.
This is President Trump, though. President Trump reached out to Sean and I and said, hey, we need to talk. You guys got more in common than you have differences, but that's a unique coalition that the president has brought together. We've seen it with Tulsi, we've seen it with Bobby, and now we're...
All right, so that's a little bit better tone, although he couldn't resist I don't know if that was a homoerotic joke, an anti-gay joke, or just a tone deaf joke, but it wasn't great. All right, let's switch back to Iran, and because one thing I want to get to before community questions is the back and forth between the president and Tucker, because the president was really hard on Tucker in an interview, I think with John Carl, and then Tucker just tweeted his own or Tucker just did an interview and responded. So we'll get to that in a second. Let me just run through some headlines on the war. Already talked to you about that Washington Post story. Number 12, please. Arab states, this is CBS News, Arab states running dangerously low on interceptors to take down Iranian-fired missiles. That's not good. Here is President Trump, 12B, at his event with the Miami soccer team, talking about what Iran must do to end the war. 12B, please.
And yesterday, my administration announced decisive action to help keep down the oil prices, including offering political risk insurance for tankers transiting into the Gulf, as you know, pretty dangerous territory. Further action to reduce pressure on oil is imminent, and the oil seems to have pretty much stabilized. We had it very low, but I had to take this little detour if it's okay with everybody. Scott, it's okay with you? Scott's the one who has to put up with it. He said, you have to do this now? I said, I have to do it, Scott, right? But it's been very strong, and everybody, including Scott, everybody feels we had really no choice. They were going to hit us if we didn't hit them, because they're crazy. And in the long term, the actions we're taking will dramatically increase the stability of the region and oil prices and stock markets and everything else.
Okay, some headlines here, just to run through and put them up lickety-split if you can. 13, this is, we mentioned this earlier, but just want to show you John Carl in his interview with the president. Trump tells me, according to John Carl, the choice of the next Iranian leader must be approved by him. Quote, we don't want them to put in anybody there unless it's approved by us. 14, same thing, you can skip 14. 15 is Trump's interview with Axios, where he says that the Khomeini's son is a lightweight who's a non-starter as a leader. President was asked today, he did a bunch of interviews, there were more than a couple minutes. Number 16, he was asked about Attorney General Paxton in Texas, saying that he'll stay in the race even if Trump endorses Cornyn. Trump has not issued the promised endorsement yet. And Trump said about Paxton, that's bad of him to say that he would stay in the race. All right, let's talk about Tucker. This is with Jonathan Karl, number 17. Again, we'll get to your questions in a minute, so please raise your hand if you'd like to be in the conversation. Number 17, in a lengthy conversation just now, President Trump hit back at Tucker, who called the Iran war, quote, absolutely disgusting and evil. Tucker has lost his way, Trump told me. I knew that a long time ago, and he's not MAGA. MAGA is saving our country. MAGA is making our country great again. MAGA is America first, and Tucker is none of those things. And Tucker is really not smart enough to understand that. Laura Loomer took a victory lap over this interview and said, all right, now let the vice president say all these things. Here's Tucker's response. Now, did Tucker tweet this, or is this an interview? I can't remember, but you'll put it up and I'll be reminded. Tucker responds to the president saying that he, quote, lost his way and is not MAGA. Interview with Oliver Darcy. There are times I get annoyed with Trump right now, definitely included. There are times I get annoyed with Trump right now, definitely included, but I'll always love him no matter what he says about me. John Michael, is this just another in the long-running Donald Tucker soap opera, or do you think this is a break that has some meaning to it?
I mean, Trump forgives people left and right. Tucker has also said a lot crazier things than this and gotten away with it. So do I think that this tanks Tucker? No, I think he's still going to be in the White House's good graces. I think that he's just going to have another more controversial podcast guest next week. Whoever that will be, I can't say. But I feel like this is just water under the bridge for Tucker and something that he's doing with a lot more frequency at this point.
Yeah. Madeline, if past his prologue, John Michael's right, because Tucker said worse things. Do you think this is different or just more of the same?
I don't think it's different, but I wish it would be. I have said for a very long time that I actually find Tucker Carlson to be the most disingenuous person on television. And I'm not one to exaggerate. That he's the single most.
Madeline, it's saying a lot. You're exempting this program, but otherwise, yeah.
He's the most disingenuous person on television, in my opinion.
Okay.
And so I would love it if the president would cut him off.
Yeah, but you don't think he will.
He's proven that he's just going to say whatever's going to make him money.
Yeah, Beverly?
I think it's it. I think he's been waiting to split with Tucker for a little while. Part of that is that there is this big split among the right about whether or not we should support Israel or not. And they want to make this about that this is an Israel first perspective, which the president has clearly said that's not what this is. They are our ally, but this was in the best interest of America. So I think this split, whether it's with Tucker or others, is coming for a while. And I think especially because Trump cares about this so much, to be attacked in this way, I actually think he may no longer be a friend with Tucker.
Yeah. Okay. We'll see. I want you guys to vote on one thing. You can just thumbs up, and people can vote in the chat too. And then a quick sponsor, and then to your questions. The White House, the Pentagon are making these videos where they mix footage from the war, Pentagon video of the U.S. destroying targets with video games about war with a very loud soundtrack. Madeline, you for that, against that, or no opinion?
I don't like it. I mean, I understand that they're trying to meet people where they are.
Yeah.
With their people. And actually, I think this was a good segue, because it kind of leads into the Nick Fuentes crowd, because I actually believe that Tucker Carlson, Marjorie Taylor Greene, and Nick Fuentes are working together. I truly believe that, because they have the opportunity to grab up all of those people who might be defectors from the Republican Party and from the MAGA coalition, who feel like he's too much for Israel, who aren't processing the facts. But that I think that they're coming in to scoop those people up. And so this could be an attempt to try to reach out to a younger group, right? In working with video games and trying to meet people where they are. That's a possibility, but I think it's disrespectful in general. I don't like it.
Beverly, what do you think of those videos?
I think they could be effective because they're trying to show strength and that America does have this global power when America has been weak for so long. So I think it's a wait and see game, but I have a feeling it's going to be looked at as being effective.
Michael, if you don't want to say what you think, I'm wondering what people you talk to think about them.
Oh, I'll say what I think. I mean, I'm the target audience. I played Pokemon and all these games that they've played. I'm Gen Z, so they're marketing directly to me. I think it's clever. I think it's engaging. I think there's a certain age range that will really buy into it and think that it's clever, even if you're not politically, active. But for the people that are not in the same cohort as I am, it's probably pretty confusing. You're probably wondering, why is the president using SpongeBob and Pokemon and all these other, kind of younger entertainment brands to sell his own narrative? So it's good for me. Probably not
real life,
Yeah.
I agree, but even for those that are not, politically involved, I think they'll probably see a quick clip of SpongeBob or their favorite show and then think, oh, why is the White House doing that? And maybe it will pique their interest. Whether it's for the right interest or the wrong ones, that's up for you guys to decide.
Yeah, well said. All right, quick word from a sponsor, then to your questions. Raise your hand if you want to get in on the conversation. You talk about juxtaposition. Well, let's juxtapose talk of war videos with fast-growing trees Go to fastgrowingtrees.com and they'll give you a big discount for being a member of the two-way community. 20% off with the promo code two-way. This is like it's like a special edition of Christmas, ladies and gentlemen. Order one or more trees or bushes or other plant from fastgrowingtrees.com. It shows up at your door. And if you do what I did, order a 7-foot tree, an 8-foot box shows up at your door. You open it up and lickety split, you got a tree. They work with you based on your climate, how much of a commitment you want to make, indoor, outdoor. And it just shows up at your house. It's a great way to get more green in your life. Go to fastgrowingtrees.com. Over 2 million customers enjoy working with the online nursery. All their trees grown with care and guaranteed to arrive healthy. That's their Alive and Thrive guarantee. And it's fantastic. Get a tree, get two, buy one for a gift. Go to fastgrowingtrees.com, promo code two-way for 20% off. All right, here we go, folks. Raise your hands high. We'll bring you in. Let's start with Sue. Sue, unmute. Tell folks where you are, what's on your mind for Madeline, Beverly, and John Michael. And thank you for being part of Two Way.
Well, despite the T-shirt or the sweatshirt, I am in Colorado. I'm glad you brought up those the Jonathan Karl, because I heard him after he did an interview with Trump say that he felt Trump thought he was invincible when it came to this Iran war. And I'm not really sure how I feel about the whole thing, because if all of these goals are met, obviously it would be a good thing for the world. But I'm concerned that if they're going in here thinking that they're invincible, that, as Madeline said, they're not looking at some of the details. And if Susie Wiles is all of a sudden asking people to throw her all these ideas about what can we do about rising gas prices, and they're now over $3 a gallon in Loveland, Colorado, I think there's a lot of things that fell through the cracks. And one of the things that worries me most about this attitude, that I worry about this administration having, is Trump's comment today about, I want to be the one to either pick the new leader, or I want to be someone who has a say-so in this. And I just look back and say, have we not learned anything from when the United States overthrew a democratically elected government in Iran and put the Shah back in? The Shah was a horrible, horrible person, horrible leader. I had friends from Iran when I went to grad school in Kansas who told me horrendous stories. The death and destruction was not as bad underneath the mullahs, but it was bad. And the people who follow the mullahs, we can't change their minds. They do not want to live under our system any more than we want to live under their system. And to have this mentality that we're going to go in, we're going to change things, we're going to make them like us, for Johnson to say something about their religion being evil. I mean, I don't know that. Why haven't we learned a better lesson? We are repeating the same mistakes. And I worry that they are saving their things. They want a ground war. And I don't see the people who supporting the mullahs doing anything other, if we put in a secular government, but creating some kind of civil war.
Yeah, you speak for tens of millions, Sue. Beverly, thoughts?
Yeah, I think it's, again, we don't know. And I have a lot of those same concerns that you have, Sue. There has been this talking point I've heard a lot, which I think is interesting. And so I've thought the same thing. Haven't we learned anything? And not just in reference to this, but the fear about trying to create democracies. But are we at a phase in our war with the technology? It's this short, get rid of their ability, take out people, the targeted attacks and the people we've been able to eliminate. And a lot of that is with Mossad and what they're able to do with intelligence. Is this very different from previous wars? And does that make a difference? And the other side to that is a lot of reports coming out today about China and oil. This is a bigger picture than even just the Middle East. There's a reason why he went into Venezuela. He is trying to cut off China from having access to oil. And so I think a lot of this is preemptive in a lot of ways. It's so large. It's so big. I have concerns. I don't know. I think when I heard that we went in, it's like, yes, the regime's terrible, but I'm nervous. Like that's just what I keep coming back to. And
well said. Also speaking for tens of millions. Madeline.
Yeah. So I have my own kind of crackpot theory about why this is happening. And I'll try to make it as quickly out as possible. So the three countries that we've been focusing on that seem like they're random, right, in the last few months, that would be Greenland, Iran, and Venezuela, right? What do these places have in common? Well, Venezuela and Iran are the second and third largest producers of sanctioned oil in the world behind Russia. Right. And then Greenland has one of the largest untapped mineral mining resources in the world. If we acquired all of that territory, then we would have the largest energy supply of any country in the world, and which is a significant investment for our future. Now, the fact is that in Venezuela, it's easy to take that person out, right? And their government was already falling, their dollar was already tanked, or their equivalent of it, right? It was easy to go in, and we could still look heroes, right? But here, the people are obviously oppressed. They don't want it there. It makes me crazy that liberals are pretending like, free Iran, right? Like, no, the people there are miserable. Actually, they do want that their leader removed. But it required a lot more finagling in order to be able to do that. Now, I think what would happen actually is if we controlled both of their oil production, then it would force Russia to lower, and we flooded the market with oil, right? Then it would force Russia to lower their price of oil. And then we get some leverage over Russia in ending the war in Ukraine. I know that's a long explanation, but it would explain why we didn't take any of the cultural factors into consideration, right? We have this global plan where we go, okay, we can benefit financially and we can benefit power-wise if we make these moves. But it would make sense that we just decided, because of hubris and ego, because that's often what people's downfalls are, that we don't need the kind of negotiators that we had the first time when we made an Iran deal, where we had people who understood the culture, who would be willing to work with us so that things would move smoothly. So I think that the downfall there will end up resulting in problems with timing, problems with resolution. So that's just my take.
Madeline, I don't think it's crackpot in the following sense. I think the president's been pretty open. He'd like access to the oil of these and the resources of these places. Maybe not to colonize them, maybe not to control them, but to get enough leverage over them to get access to those resources. And we know that there's two things at the center of the president's broad foreign policy vision. One is energy dominance of the hemisphere and of the world, and two is finding leverage over China and Russia.
And the Nobel Peace Prize.
Yeah, and the Nobel Peace Prize. I don't know if you get the Nobel Peace Prize for colonization.
Well, you do for ending the war between Russia and Ukraine.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, well said. Sue, thank you. Great question and super important framing by all of you. So thank you for that. Jack, welcome in. Tell folks who don't know where you are, what's on your mind for Madeline and for Beverly.
Oh, mute.
Afternoon from San Antonio. I agree with much of what's been said by you, Mark, on Next Up Today and some of the earlier shows concerning the president on sinking their Navy and getting rid of their missiles and, of course, going after the nukes. But there's one aspect of Iran that is not, to me, like any of the other nuclear powers in the country, in the world today. And although others may be evil, I do think they are ultimately rational. Sadly, I don't think that necessarily applies to Iran. I think as a nihilistic theocracy, I shudder to think what they may do if they had nuclear weapons at their disposal. And of course, if they were feckless enough to drop something on Israel, I think you would see a conflagration throughout the Middle East that we wouldn't even want to think about.
Yeah, I think the president agrees with you. And on Next Up, I run through almost 50 years ago, the president did an interview with Rona Barrett, who you younger people not have heard of, but she was like a celebrity interviewer. But he talked at length about Iran in the context of the hostage crisis. But he basically said these people are crazy, and the only way to deal with them is with force. So he's been carrying that sensibility around for half a century. Madeline, thoughts on Jack's question or point?
And I mean, dealing with them with force doesn't mean it doesn't require a gentle hand. You can still be forceful and take into consideration what all the circumstances are in order to be able to not cause too much of a backlash. But what's crazy to me is that people don't realize that the security of the United States is like inextricably intertwined with that of Israel, because that's our stronghold in the Middle East. That's how we're able to maintain our security from afar. And I don't like Netanyahu. I don't have to, but that doesn't mean that that's not the truth, right? And I don't understand why people don't process that. It makes me crazy.
Beverly.
Yeah, I agree totally with you, Jack. And the issue with Iran is we know obviously that they've been a bad actor for decades now, and that they are crazy and they're willing to do many things. And when you look at how many ballistic missiles they have, which clearly are being brought in by Russia, by China, and not just pointed towards our allies, but like was just said, Israel is the democracy in this region and does matter. And all of this is tied to Russia, to China. All of it is interconnected. So I do think, as they were saying, there was some imminent threat coming. And I think in addition to that, it's tying all the countries together that obviously want to attack America and our allies.
Jack, anything you want to say, follow?
Well, one last thing. I certainly hope that the president doesn't get behind the Shah Jr.
He's been pretty lukewarm, to say the least, about him so far.
I heard him on 60 Minutes, and I can't see him getting support throughout the country.
Yeah.
And
Jack, thank you.
Iran.
Thank you, Jack. Just to tell you a little bit about what's coming up, Jack was nice enough to mention next up, which has been posted. Now you can watch it on YouTube or listen to it as a podcast, my program on the Megyn Kelly Network. My reported monologue is making the case that we should put aside the debate about why the president attacked and why he attacked now. I think it's pretty clear and pretty explicit. And speculation about other reasons, I just don't think hold up. There's so many important issues for the country to debate: the end game, the question of cost, the question of Congress's involvement, the question of how the relationship with Israel is conducted, dealing with their allies. There are a lot of important questions to occupy us on National Town Square. But if you look at the statements of President Trump, President Bush, President Obama, President Biden, if you look at what Caroline Leavitt has said, I really don't think it's a mystery. The little hiccup with Secretary Rubio the other day about Israel should not distract us. Why Donald Trump did this and why he did this now, I lay it out. I think it's emphatically clear. I think respectfully we should move on from that conversation. And then my two guests on next up. One is Dr. Race Gowder, who's been on two-way before, 97 years old. He moved to Washington more than half a century ago to be a doctor, and he treated President Nixon, and he's a great student of how our presidents are treated by doctors and how they're covered by doctors. And recommend it to you. I think you'll like it to understand Washington through the eyes of a man. He just wrote his memoirs at 97, and it's a great conversation. Then Bob Crawford, he's the bass player for the Avett Brothers and a podcaster, just wrote a book about John Quincy Adams and the unique life of John Quincy Adams as someone who was the son of a president, a controversial president, and then after he left the presidency, he planned to just go home and write a book about his dad, and then instead served in the House of Representatives for 17 years and became one of the leading abolitionist voices in the United States. Two great conversations. That's available to you now. 7 o'clock tonight here on the two-way platform is Michael Moynihan, the Moynihan Report.
8 o'clock.
8 o'clock, sorry. 8 o'clock tonight. Thank you very much. Right here in my notes. Noah, go ahead and pronounce the name of Michael's guest.
I'm not going to try that.
All right. The Moynihan Report at 8 o'clock tonight. Tomorrow, 9 a.m. Eastern Time. Friday, we'll have our winners, losers of the week and what to look for in the morning meeting. Larry and Kevin will be back, and we'll have lots to discuss. Overnight developments in the war, the latest on the Kristi Noem thing, and maybe Tucker will come on and tell us what's going on. So we look forward to that. Madeline, loved having you here. I hope you'll come back. You're just a perfect fit for this platform. And
Thank you
again,
so
I'm very
much.
grateful to you for what you said at the beginning. And Beverly, let me see what I can do about getting you. And if not with Secretary Noem, at least maybe Mark Wayne Mullin. Maybe I can get you two together for
That would
a
be
session.
great.
Would you give him a government discount?
I don't give government discounts. I don't
Really?
treat it
Okay.
that way. There are no ethics violations. Everything is the same. It just
full
keeps
freight.
full
freight.
rate all the way.
Okay, that's fair. Grateful to you all for being part of Two-Way. As you know, the morning meeting now available on Sirius XM, channel 111, every day, 10 o'clock Eastern. So you can watch the show at 9 o'clock on the Two-Way platform, watch it or listen to it as a podcast, or 10 a.m. Eastern Time, second hour, we roll right in from 9 to 10, the morning meeting on Sirius XM, channel 111. That's just started, so I keep trying to remind people. Some people have asked me, does that mean it's not on at 9 o'clock anymore? No. It's still on at 9 o'clock. Nothing changes about the 9 o'clock show. It's 9 o'clock on Two-Way and X and YouTube, 10 o'clock on Sirius XM 111 for a second hour of the morning meeting. Thank you all for being part of Two-Way. I will see you tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. Moynihan Report tonight at 8. Have a good evening, everybody.
Thank
Night.
you.